Hey, it's the Cones of Dunshire. I'm not sure how this happened. My husband suggested we get my brother the Cones of Dunshire for Christmas, but of course we look it up and they're all discontinued. So my husband, like a normal person, just moved on looking for something else, but it was stuck in my head, and then all of a sudden I had to build it. And then this happened. It took up a month of my life, and a lot of other people did not get their Christmas presents. Thankfully, I found online Isaac at Cephalo Fair. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. They are actual game designers, and he took some of his private time to make the rules and make it a playable game. The problem is that in the show, it's a joke. It's satire. It's not playable. It's just kitchen sink madness. But he did his best to make rules and make it work. In the show, there's this shot of the rules of play, and there's a really clear glimpse at it, and then it says that it's one of 8 pages. And so his focus was to make it faithful to this page and to kind of fill in what must be happening in the other 7 pages. So that was the basis of the game that he was faithful to, and it took me 2 days of just reading these blog posts and just trying to figure out what the game even is, how it's played, and what's going on. One of the important things for me was that this is huge and I wanted it to be packable. And so this is actually disassemblable into 4 pieces. So you can take the mountain off like this. So this is one separate piece, and it's just construction on the bottom. And then these are each 4 kind of puzzle pieces that fit in a certain way. And everything can be stacked up together, and then that way you have something that can be folded up, because nobody wants it, this giant thing, just sitting somewhere. And so I had to also make a box for it. No one ever suggested making an actual large mountain, but of course I was already in this deep, so I did it. A paper mache mountain is not that difficult, but I had to make actual playable levels that made sense with the map of the board. And so each level is about 4 inches higher than the last, at least before it was all covered in paper mache. So I had just this conglomeration of recycled bottles and things to make the basic mold. Another cool thing about the mountain is that I coated it in Martha Stewart's terracotta paint. It's this really gritty, textured stuff that I've used on a million different projects, but it went really well onto this in white, and then I just spray painted over it. So I think it has a cool effect, but of course it's huge. Another thing at the top is the summit cards. These are in the original rules online. These cards are about the game, so like asking to see if you're keeping track of what's going on. But I made them into Parks and Rec trivia cards because why not? So it was kind of embarrassing how many of these I just thought of on the spot. And my youngest brother hasn't even seen the show, but we talk about it so much that he knew. He wrote some of these himself, even though he's never actually watched it. I just thought that was a fun little twist. The board itself is different from Isaac's in 2 main ways. One is that you have these 4 corners for the gods. You've got the lava worm, which is a snake, cobra type thing. You have the dragon, in the marshlands or grasslands, and then you have a minotaur with the sand dunes and the kraken with the water. He has them as a single hexagon, but I wanted these kind of big, majestic stations at the corners to really make it feel like a stronghold. And then it also makes the game go a little faster because you have 4 points of access to each stronghold, so you can get to the gods quicker for the game aspects. The thing that was different was that he had black hexagons, and those played into the game, but I just wanted to do anything I could to simplify it, and so I don't have any of those. There's 4 types of landscape. There's the grasslands, which is this moss paper from the dollar store, and then you have lava, which is paint and hot glue swooshed. And then you have the whirlpools, which are the same process as the lava, and then you have the sand. Now for the sand, I used layers of Mod Podge and sand. The key was to end on Mod Podge, and then that way it doesn't come off when you scrape it. These are the different materials and resources we have going on. So these are poker chips from a kid's poker game, which is interesting. And then those are for irrigation. And then I spray painted them black for famine. Then you have iron. I got metallic straws and cut them up. Little pebbles for stone to build with. Little wooden cubes for wood. And then coffee beans for food to feed your troops with. Then I spent a lot of time painting dice. I spent a lot of time painting dice for the game. Of course, we start the game and my brother points out that we only needed one of these 8-sided die. But I made like 10 of them, so I was not very happy about his observation. Each player has a different number of specific soldiers and barracks and buildings and things. But you also need, say, 8 different colors. So it was really hard to come up with all the little pieces. But I really got into the whole kitchen sink philosophy that Ben did it with. And so I got bottle caps as the actual avatars, which when we played, we actually used Dungeons and Dragons avatars that matched each one, but these are the placeholders when the dungeon master needs them. We have toy soldiers here. We have paper clips, thumbtacks, erasers, buttons. Basically, I just accumulated everything, counted them in the correct numbers, and then spray painted. Family, of course, wants to 3D print all of these cool buildings and things, which would be fun, but I really was taking on the kitchen sink philosophy. So this is, I think, a fun placeholder in the meantime. And one of the biggest things that Cephalo Fair did for us was making all the cards. So like I said, I made the summit cards were Parks and Rec trivia questions, but there are just so many other cards that make the game playable. You have agriculture cards, spirit cards, and then cards for each of the gods. And those all have specific content that's playable, and I did not have the time or energy to do that. But I did make graphics for the end. So you can see these are the spirit cards, these are the agriculture cards, and then each god has its own thing. So I was happy that I was at least maybe able to make some graphics for it, but it needs more work on making it all cohesive and playable. This is unplayable even for gamers, and the people at Fall Fair really want you to know that their other games are actually like fun. This is just like nerding out. My family sat down one evening and we didn't even all get to play. There were 5 of us, and my mom, the ledgerman, never even got to play because it took us a few hours just to get through 4 moves. So the main task ahead of us is to figure out how to make it playable. Our plan is to make 2 versions of the game eventually. One is for the purist, masochist people that want to do the authentic thing, and then the other version for people who are nice family members and they think the show is cute and it'd be fun to do one Saturday afternoon. So we're kind of going to have 2 versions of the game based on that. There's so many future projects we want to do with this. We want to sculpt each of the gods at the 4 corners. We want to build custom avatars for the players. We want to make starting points for each of the players. We want to make boxes that have profiles and strengths and weaknesses and places to put all your specifically numbered pieces. We want to have cool cones that aren't all bent. We want to also make a portable version that's just a big digitally designed printout that's just folded and you can actually take to a normal party or something. And then of course they want to 3D print all the little buildings, which I think is ridiculous.
But building the avatars aren't.
Yeah.
Building the gods aren't.
Yeah. These are the early stages, but that is what we have so far.